All right. So on today's pod, we are going to talk about Florida being like the sports mecca for some reason. Like this has just been a really good year for
South
Florida
Florida.
sports. South Florida.
It
Yeah, not
was
all.
it was originally, I guess, more towards northern central,
Yeah.
if you will, within the
Mhm.
Tampa area. But now, I mean, that talent's been slowly shifting down. So yeah.
Yeah. At the expense of my Florida Canes putting forth a
Carolina Canes,
pitiful,
yeah.
the pitiful performance in the NHL playoffs after a hot start. Not pitiful. Well,
Not
it's
pitiful. They just
fizzled. It fizzled. It
yeah,
fizzled
it
out. Yeah, it
fizzled, yeah.
fizzled. Real bad. Real bad. And then LeBron doing what he does best, taking the attention off of his team, being a little baby. But he may be crazy, but crazy like a fox. I think after a day, I think I've kind of figured out what he was trying to do. And then me and Bert are going to play GM and figure out what the New York Rangers and the Philadelphia 76ers should do after another disappointing postseason. And and then maybe some more surprises later in the show, but we'll figure it out. Find out next. Sports. I don't know what's up with my internet, but it's been like really laggy, and it doesn't seem to be affecting anybody but you. So this might be.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. Yeah, at least on my end. Yeah.
All right, listen, we're just gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it rolling. Welcome to Stuff About Sports, presented by the Mighty Give Us a Shot Network. The prettier Corey Burt.
Yes, sir.
I am the Facebook felon. And speaking of Corey, shout out to Corey and having
The
finally
newest father.
Yeah, we're complete now.
We are.
Your brother and his lovely lady had a baby, and I don't
Yes.
want to divulge any information because I don't know how they feel about privacy, but they've had a beautiful child.
Yep.
And our Facebook group in my phone is labeled Dad Scout Cookies for whatever. I think we had a hilarious conversation about Dad Scout Cookies, and now Corey is now a proud father. So shout out to Corey and Mike of the Divide. I think they're taking some time off. I believe me and you are going to record a segment for this Friday's show.
Yeah,
right after this one.
Mikey will pop in and we'll do some stuff with him. We'll fill in the gaps while Corey, rightfully so, takes some time to enjoy the. I mean, look, we've both been there twice over. Thrice over. So it's we know what those first we'll say first week is like, but let alone the first 48 hours. So he's taking the well needed time to just really absolutely enjoy the bundle of joy and take care of his wife too, because that's a big part of it as well.
It is a big part of it. Shout out to her. Matter of fact, round of applause.
Oh yeah, MVP. All that dude did was, he did his work 9 months ago.
Yeah,
he slept on an uncomfortable couch. I mean, she was in there putting in work. He was still able to eat, do everything else. Look, don't get me wrong. Probably coached her great, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, 30 seconds, and she has to deal with it for 9 months. Scott Corey has to go sit on the couch. So these playoffs for us are over, right?
Yeah.
Our teams are out of it. I mean, now we just whatever. Miami and Boston, I think, are about to tip off or just tipped off for Game 5. Hopefully, Miami can keep it going. One Florida team has already handled business. That's Florida Panthers out of nowhere. I mean, damn. I don't know how they did it.
We say out of nowhere, but in actuality, all they were doing was like defying expectations or exceeding expectations rather, because, when you look at it, they were an 8th seed, crawled into the playoffs, right? Wild card. No one thought they were going to go past the big bad Bruins, who had the best record in NHL history in the regular season. They went down 3-1 in that series, tore back, forced the Game 7, beat the Bruins in overtime in Game 7, and then from that point forward, from being down 3-1, they've reached a resurgence point that I haven't personally seen in my hockey viewing career. The closest thing that this reminds me of is the 2012 LA Kings, because a similar situation. Right. They were an 8 seed and just tore through the playoffs, but by beating the best regular season record in NHL, and like the team the Bruins was throughout the entire regular season, and then from there they handled Toronto like it was nobody's business. I think they took that series 4-1, and then you can say they handled the Canes. They just wanted it more, is what it came down to. I mean, all games essentially 1 goal difference. The first 2 ended in overtime. The
Mm-hmm.
third game was a 1-0 loss to the
Mm-hmm.
Panthers. And then you want to talk about dramatic fashion and the greatness that is Matthew Tkachuk and what he brought to Florida coming from Calgary after the trade. He's a leader on the ice. He's a leader off the ice, and he's a leader when it matters, which means clutch times in the playoffs. Game 1, overtime winner. Game 2, overtime winner. Game 4 to finish the sweep, scoring with 4.9 seconds left. Like, are you on a power play? Are you kidding me? Now, heartbreaking for the Canes for 2 reasons. One, to have your series not only swept, but decided by 1 goal in each game. That's just, I mean, that to your point, that's fizzling out. That's honestly exhaustion setting in. And what shocked me, I mean, we were off last week. We had personal stuff to do. I would have gave you predictions last week that said Canes in 5. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I would have been dead wrong, because they, to me, on paper, had the playoff depth. They've had guys that experienced it before, led by Rod Brendamore as a coach who did it himself and raised the Stanley Cup for Carolina too. I would have thought for sure, and especially since there was such a long break, I thought the Panthers might have cooled off a bit, but no, they came in on a tear. So honestly, they're in the Stanley Cup final. We're just waiting on the West to finish up, which Vegas is taking.
Our guys, hold on, hold up.
Now, right now, they're up 1-0. They could finish the sweep of Dallas, and Dallas is a tough team. Now, here's where I'm going to gloat a little bit. I think it was last show, maybe even 2 shows ago. I went in on why expansion teams in the NHL are successful. And because of the way they draft and because of how everything's set up, this is, if they win tonight, this is the second time since their inception, which was 5-6 years ago, that they're in the Stanley Cup final. Like it's unreal, the turnaround on these expansion teams. And you can also look to what the Kraken just did. Now, granted, they lost to Dallas in 7 games, but I mean, the success rate is there. And if we see a Vegas Panthers final, it's not going to be the biggest markets to be there. Admittedly, people still forget that the Miami area has a hockey team. But I'll tell you what, me as a hockey fan, I could not be more excited if it's those 2 markets. Both markets haven't won a Stanley Cup before. You have an 8 seed from the East that is just tearing it up, who I think now is going to win the Stanley Cup. And then you have the Golden Knights. I mean, and just as I talked Matthew Tkachuk and, the offseason moves that, the Panthers made to get him, you can look at Vegas and the moves they made to get Jack Eichel, who's making a difference on the ice with his offensive and defensive play too. So exciting times for hockey fans. If you're just, if you're just scratching the surface, you're going to be like, well, I don't care who wins. But I mean, you have to look into this a little bit more and what these 2 teams are doing. It's unreal. It really is. I do feel bad for the Canes, though, man. A part of me feels bad. A part of me, and they'll never do it. A part of me hopes that the Canes fire Brendamore so the Rangers can interview him and hire him. That's the only reason.
Man, that's some hater shit right there. So on the other side, another 8th seed, the Miami Heat coming in. I mean, I made this point on. I was on this Just In this past week, and I made this point on his show. If Jimmy Butler can take out Giannis and the Bucks and take out the Celtics, who had the 2 best records in the NBA, both in the East, 1 and 2 seeds in the East, and 2 of the best records in the NBA. If he can do that and then go on to beat Nikola Jokic, the Joker, and the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals, Jimmy Butler's the best player in the NBA. I mean, just what he's done in the postseason, and there's a joke about playoff Jimmy Butler, and it kind of makes me question the regular season as a whole. Like, if you could just get in the playoffs, it don't matter what seed you are. If you have the right team, like this race to have home court, this race to have a top 3 seed or a top 4 seed so you can have home court advantage, doesn't really mean anything. If a team, and the reason why I like, and maybe you can speak to this more in hockey. I know that the Panthers aren't your team, but I've watched a lot. I watch basketball outside of the Sixers, and I know about other teams. The thing that's most impressive about Denver and Miami is that they are not bought; they're built. They got their star in free agency and they built around their star. They're a one lone star team. Denver probably Jamal Murray's a star. I think he's turned himself into that. But again, he was drafted. Jokic was drafted. Carmelo Anthony's retiring. As a Denver, he's retiring today. Longtime Denver Nugget. Finally, well, he was retired 5 years ago. I know he just officially retired, but the world retired or the NBA retired him a long time ago. But both number 15s, and I don't think it's a question of whose number 15 gets retired by Denver. It has to be Nikola Jokic. I get that people hold Carmelo Anthony in high regard, but as far as a Denver Nugget legacy, Jokic has already, just what he's done historically, to me, has done more than what Carmelo has done. And I get what he means to that franchise, but that was something built like that. What Jokic has done for Denver is what Denver wanted Carmelo to do. Hey, we drafted you. You are a generational talent that we can build around. It just never happened. Whether that was all of Carmelo's fault or whether that was George Karl, who was the coach at the time, if that was his fault, I don't know. But I'm looking at Miami, who traded or brought in Jimmy Butler in free agency, and then said, okay, this is what Jimmy does. This is the type of people we need around him. Philly tried to buy its love. We got to pair Joel Embiid. Now they're about to make the same mistake and do it again. And we'll get to that segment later. But then you look at teams like Phoenix, who tried to bring in Kevin Durant, add to the stars when they brought in Chris Paul. I think that's why a lot of people appreciate Milwaukee's title from a few years ago and Giannis. He was drafted and wasn't anything special. He worked on his game. They said, okay, this guy's turning into something. What do you need around you? They built a championship team around him. And so, the Clippers, they tried to buy a title. They brought in Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and they've been hurt. It's been hurting them. The Lakers tried to do the same thing. That's LeBron's MO. Hey, I need stars. I need players. I need my friends around me so I can win titles. And they've been hurt. And granted, they started the season off awful. It didn't look good. And they made it a hell of a lot farther than anybody thought they would this year. But ultimately, they fell short because, the manufactured titles generally don't win. I know it's worked for LeBron, in the past couple of years. And that's just because he's a great individual player. But generally, that doesn't work that well. Tom Brady just did it in Tampa Bay, and we saw how quick that went away. Because it's not a sustainable formula for success. So
and look, we can sit here and compare apples to oranges because we know the NFL is just a different breed altogether. I mean, we've seen super teams be put together and fail quickly. That Tom Brady thing was just Tom Brady being Tom Brady, and anybody who hates is a hater on Tom Brady and how he plays the game or anything else. Like what he could have went to Tampa and it could have been like last season we just witnessed, but he went there. They had Bruce Arians. I mean, it was a perfect storm of talent there to just leave Boston, go to Tampa and bring them a title because he's Tom Brady and he does whatever he wants and he's great at everything. No, I mean, look, to your point, that bought talent shit doesn't work anymore, and particularly in the NHL. And we've seen this through and through. I've seen it so many times talking baseball with my Yankees. Like it's not happening. And this is kind of similar to your Sixers, exactly where the Rangers, I don't want to say went wrong because it was getting bigger stars to fit the needs. Like, when we brought over Tarasenko and even Patrick Kane, like they wanted to play in New York. We knew that they were going to be, well, right now at this point, since nobody's re-signed, they are rentals until they re-sign. So if they do, so we knew that this was our best chance. Our defensive core is there. Like, we have arguably one of the best goalies in the NHL. Personally, I think he is the best goalie in the NHL. Under Igor Shesterkin. And then, I think we have a solid 6 in front of him and a deep 6 too, that, your top 3 lines, that your top 3 pairs are going to get it done. Offensively, bringing in Kane and Tarasenko should have had more of a melding than it did. Tarasenko showed up in the playoffs. Patrick Kane did not. He had one good game against the Devils, and that was it. But some of our other pieces, like Vincent Trocheck, who was solid, he's a solid 2-way player, good in the regular season. He came from Carolina, signed a 6-year deal for us, went missing in the playoffs. Artemi Panarin, we pay $11 million a year or something along those lines. He took less money to sign with us a couple of years ago instead of going to the Islanders that were offering him more money. But it seems like every year when we're in the playoffs, he has maybe 1 or 2 games that's good in a series, and then he fades away. We didn't even make it through round 1 this year. So he was nowhere to be found. Chris Kreider showed up just like he did all season, but Mika Zibanejad, another one of our stars, went quiet. So when I look at teams like the Panthers and how they're doing it, I think it's a combination of, look, you can't teach hunger when it comes down to who wants it more.
Yeah.
And I think they got a taste of that by not only keeping up with the Bruins, but then knocking off the Bruins. And they realize that as a group, they can make it happen. But when you look at their depth all around, I mean, they have a really good combination of some older leaders. I look at the Stahl brothers in particular. Mark Stahl, who was with the Rangers forever, now like a key factor in the defensive core there. Never won a cup, but has made it far in the playoffs and made it to a final when we lost to the Kings. And then you look at Eric Stahl, who was, a captain for Carolina and got it done and brought a cup there too. But then you look at a lot of the developmental talent and, Matthew Tkachuk, which I already said, I mean, solid player, as was his father, Keith Tkachuk. I mean, honestly, that's generational talent when it comes down to the NHL. Hard grinders, American-born players. You love to see it. But you look at guys like, Anthony Duclair. I mean, this was a Rangers prospect who played with us a couple of games one season. The Rangers organization didn't feel as though he was developing quick enough. They basically traded him off to Arizona, and then he somehow made his way over to Florida and is now doing phenomenal things. So it's a combination of players finally maturing, older players leading the room, but I think just it's that collective mindset of getting it done, which is what is working. I mean, look, since my team is out of it, I love watching hockey like this for two reasons. One, I don't have a dog, in this race by any means. So for me, it's just fun and hockey to watch. But when you watch underdog teams like this click together, it's half exciting for me, but it's also frustrating because we look at our superstar teams and we're like, why couldn't we do this? We have a team of superstars who have been around this game, who have played in Stanley Cups before. Like, what is the missing piece here? So for me, it's that simple. It's a locker room mindset, and we'll talk more about what we may need as a team. And I mean, spoiler alert for me, I'm not looking for a lot of talent. I think we have it. I just think it's an overall system, to say the least. Oof, look at that score.
Yeah, live looking. I was trying to make this small and us big, but I'll figure it out later. So, yeah, I mean, Boston, they're not going away quietly. I mean, if Miami, I know we just praised Miami, the Heat, but they're currently down 23-10. I mean, it's not – I mean, Boston coming down from a 3-1 deficit, that would be nuts. That would be –
it was a 3-0 deficit.
3-0
I don't think.
Deficit.
I mean, historically, what did they say? No one's ever come back.
No one's ever come back from down 3-0. So I mean, I know Miami's missing a couple players. Gabe Vincent, one of their guys, is out. So we'll see. I mean, that'll be an interesting little deal if whatchamacallit doesn't end up winning. So as far as teams go, and so. Let's play GM for a second. Actually, before we do that, so they're about to give up this lead. Would you rather lose in 7 games or get swept?
7.
Every time. Every time? Oh,
every single time. You want to know why? Because for me, it's and I know we just talked about the Panthers or the Canes getting swept. And, a point I didn't make before is this is the 3rd time that they've been swept in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah. Their last 3 appearances in the Eastern Conference Finals, they're 0 for 12, which is that's an insane stat. But for me, I'd rather at least take 1 game. I want my team to show up. And when you look at the series with Carolina, and we said losing by a goal, they still played. They just weren't hungry enough. But to me, that's just a small enough margin to make it extra frustrating. If I'm going to be swept, I'd rather be blown out every game to know that I don't have a chance in hell winning the series, let alone winning a game. But when the margin is just that small, I'd honestly, it's 7 every single time. Because at least mentally for me as a fan, I'm like, you know what? We didn't win. Like the Devils-Rangers series. Right. We didn't win, but I guess we tired them out for the Canes, and then they took care of business. It's a dumb thing to say, but it makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought about this. I feel like the agony of almost getting there would hurt rather than the finality of just getting swept. Like I know after 2 or 3 games, I know what time it is. Let's just get it over with. because that pain is everlasting. I don't like having hope till the very last second. I'd rather know if I'm down 2-0 and I kind of know where this is going. You could prepare. I'm down 3-0. I can really prepare. Like the blow doesn't hurt as much because it's like, damn, we done lost the last 3 games. Finally, it's over. But to sit there and go back and forth, and then especially in a situation like this, imagine if Boston, who was down 3-0, somehow wins the next 3 games. All that hope buildup, all that momentum, all that just everything, and then to lose in Game 7 would hurt a lot more if they would have just lost the other day. You know what I mean? It just I think about that, like that pain. I don't want to deal with that. So I feel like I would just rather get swept.
Yeah, it's the idea of hope,
it's that,
that's
just no. It's like, would you rather of what is it? What's the saying? Love and loss than never love at all.
Loved it all. Yeah.
I don't love it all. Fuck
don't
that.
love it all.
Like,
I guess I see your point, and I see how the disappointment and grief sets in earlier. Because at least it's Game
spread
7,
out. It's like
at tip off or when that puck drops, you still have hope, and then you could get blown out Game 7, and then you're completely irate.
You're like,
and I think I went through it when the Yankees in the postseason lost to Houston. I'm pretty sure they were swept too. I think, but like after Game 2, I was just like, I'm done with this. Like I'm good. I know how this is going to end. So I guess you go through the stages of grief earlier, but man. As much as torturous as postseason NBA and NHL are, there's nothing like this. I would literally trade it all just to experience one more game of just the heart palpitations of knowing your team is still in it. But I mean, look, there's no right answer here. It sucks either way.
It's definitely there isn't a right answer. I just think about that, like, man. At least the grief is stretched out where it doesn't feel as bad when it's over. But when you like have hope, and I mean, I've been to a spot where I've had mad hope, and then it's just gone.
Since we're somewhat on topic, I have to tell you one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes down to fans, and that's either the night of or the next day when I see this long social media caption about like, we came up short, but you know what? At least it was so fun watching you as a team. Like, no, I'm not. That's never something I want to write or read. Like, I know, like, oh, you're New York Rangers. Hey, we may have came up short, but there's so much to be proud of. What is there to be proud of? Not raising a trophy at the end of the year. We should be proud of that. Like, no. So, look, fans, I understand what some fans are trying to do, being like, hey, let's look on the bright side, but not. You want to give me that tweet or something like maybe a week, 2 weeks after. All right, that's fine, but not the night or the morning. I'm like, no, this is not happening. I'm still seething from the loss.
Anybody making that post definitely did it to this soundtrack. And are definitely part of
liberal media.
Yeah. So I don't like that either. And I think we just went through this with the Mets last year, right? I'm like, like when they won the 100 games finally for the first time, I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking
so
about,
what?
bro?
Like who cares? Yeah,
like if you're good,
put that on the banner, like I just don't understand. Speaking of Mets and Yankees, since we were on 2 weeks ago talking our smack, they turned it around.
Hey, hold up. Yeah. Hold up. Hey, we back. I mean,
we back.
We back.
Yeah. So when we were saying we hit that panic button, it was panic. We don't have enough drinks at this party. That's what it is. Like, no, I'm still look. Baseball's such a long season, but I got to be honest with you, man. They proved us wrong. They really did. They're like, well, hey, okay, that's what you think. All right, yeah, we'll see.
But in reality, because it wasn't like it wasn't the same squad. Well, I don't know about the Yankees. But for the Mets, it wasn't the same squad. We called. Who did I say to call? I said, hey, we need to call up this guy, and they did. And look what happened. And now we have an issue because Alvarez has been the catalyst for this comeback with his offense. And, but now we're about to have a log jam at the catcher spot, right?
Yeah.
Nito. Well, we just before the show, we designated Gary Sanchez, who we just called up like a week ago. So,
which is wild to me. But I mean, also not
surprising. He was.
Yeah.
I mean, in life, right, you dribble and you shoot, and that's what Gary's saying. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you miss. Gary Sanchez was more of a prayer. Nito's been hurt.
Yeah.
Alvarez was, he's a young kid. It's time to. We didn't know what we had, and we have aspirations. But hey, paying dividends now, and you can't. I mean, honestly, you can't send him back. You can't. Like I don't. So it'll be more interesting with the Nito situation.
Yeah.
Nito's great, but I would rather have Alvarez's offense right now. I mean, the defensive stuff that Nito brings does not cancel out. We don't need defense. We need to score points, and Alvarez has been doing that and helping us do that. And we've been winning games at a better clip. So we're not where we should be. I think as Verlander and Scherzer get healthier and get more time, these guys are older, so they probably need more games to get into rhythm. Once they find their rhythm, I have no doubt. Pete Alonso, I know I was hating on him because he's kind of sporadic. He does lead the league in home runs, so I
He
can't.
also leads the league in humping inanimate objects when he's happy. Like,
and our outfielders are humping each other. If that helps us win, hump away, hump everything.
Yeah, hump anything. Yeah,
hump anything.
Hump a fence, hump a post. Like, yeah.
I mean, I'll fly up there, hump me. I don't care.
Yes.
I mean, whatever helps us
Terms
win.
like whatever gets the hardware. I got this. I'll take it.
At this point, with the Sixers disappointing,
yeah,
Bills, I need
something until football season starts up again. Yeah,
and I don't even want that because I'm not excited about the Bills season. I do this every year with these teams. They give me this hope. I'm done hoping. I'm done wishing. I need to see it, dog. I'm not the 10 plus games of Josh Allen doesn't excite me because Josh Allen's a top 3 quarterback. Just like the Mets, you have the highest payroll in baseball, bro. Like to be flirting or just now surpassing 500 at this point is not exciting to me. I expect,
especially watching a Tampa team, in the AL, just tear it up with one of the lowest payrolls. Like
the Pittsburgh Pirates were leading the division up until like 3 days ago. Like I don't want to hear it. Like you were supposed to be good in the regular season. That's not a. And this is my issue. What you were saying about these fans who are so used to mediocrity that they accept a season to them is good because they've been so bad for so long. I don't believe in that nonsense. We're good now. I don't care what the team has done for 20 years. We're good now. This is what we spent the money for. This is what we got the owner for. This is why we drafted the players. This is why X, Y, and Z. Those days are over now. I expect to win. And so again, with the Bills disappointing the last couple of years, I'm the same way with the Sixers next year. Whether Harden stays or goes, whoever we bring in, it doesn't matter to me until we get to the playoffs and beat the Boston Celtics in the second round. Nothing matters. I expect us to get to at least the same exact spot. And if we don't, then we can start talking about trading Joel Embiid, which, I mean, if you were to trade him, logically, you'd do it now because he just had an MVP season. His value is not going to be any higher. So if you were to think about it, because I know Sean Brace and John Jansen were kind of laughing at the idea that people were suggesting to trade Joel Embiid. And I said, well, it's not that crazy. Like if you wanted to build the team, because 10 years of Embiid to not reach a conference finals, for me, I would not scoff at it. I don't think it'd be my first move, but
no,
I would logically say, okay, well, hold up. We have Tyrese Maxey. We really like him. We know for that Joel Embiid can't do it by himself. He's a big man. He's getting older. If we trade him now at his all-time value high, we'll get a haul that we can't get later down the road. You're going to wait for him to expire and get less value for him? No, trade him now and let's start the process now. And but people don't want to hear that because he's an MVP and he's the best player this team has had since Allen Iverson. So.
Well, it's because we got to remember at that point too, like if you're trading away your top star, then that's the organization's admission of a rebuild. And as a fan, when you hear rebuild, like we're nowhere near a title when that couldn't be further from the truth given the talent and dare I say the recent success. So at what point, I guess, what do fans need to see to get to that point where you're like, I'll hear options to trading away our best player if it means 3 years down the line, we get to a better spot to be in a championship, or do we try to mortgage our future now and go for it? And if it works, it works. It doesn't, it doesn't. But
that's for me. That point is now though, Bert, because we're not trading Embiid for draft picks. We're trading him for players. If we feel like Tyrese Maxey and so like this is what I had suggested. We might as well just get to this now. Let's play GM now. For the Sixers, if I'm the Sixers, I don't trade Joel Embiid unless I can get a star back. It doesn't have to be a superstar, but I would have to get at least a star player back. But if Harden, I'm going to assume Harden's going back to Houston, or he's going to leave and go wherever he wants to go. I don't think the Sixers are going to re-sign him. However, if you can take Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, who I think can fill the James Harden void now, he can't develop while James is there, and he's definitely not going to do it if the Kyrie Irving, which I don't think ever going to happen, but that's being thrown around. That's not going to happen. Let Tyrese Maxey step up and be the number 2 option full time. And what you do is, if I'm the Sixers, take that money or take whatever assets you get from losing Harden, and you get 2 or 3 legit 3-point shooters that can play defense, true 3-and-D guys who don't need the ball, that can move without space, who can help on, because the defense is what we need. But we need guys who are able to consistently knock down shots. That's what we didn't have, which is why James Harden had to score 45 points twice. I mean, we were outscored by Boston by 62 points. Like, we weren't going to beat Boston no matter what. It didn't help that they had shitty games back-to-back on closeout games. So you get rid of Harden, you play more team ball. This isolation basketball we play is because we don't have what we need around our star player. If this offseason we let James Harden go and we can get real shooters around this team, I think we can take the next step. The catalyst is Joel Embiid has to stop playing half court. Give me the ball and everybody stand around and watch me dribble at the 3-point line when I'm 7'1".
Yeah.
Like, that's got to stop. Like, I hope the Sixers get Nick Nurse, the coach that Toronto had just fired, because he knows how to coach a 1-star team, and he did it with Toronto and won a title with them a few years ago. I think he can do the same for the Sixers.
Yeah. I mean, look, looking at, pivoting over to the Rangers and playing GM, it's tough for me to be in the scenario where we're like sell now and rebuild, because lo and behold, 3 years ago, we were in a rebuild. And then what happened? We found generational talent in the likes of Igor Shesterkin. Our young defensive core came up, meshed together, and now they're one of the strongest, with Adam Fox being, yet again a Norris finalist. So, it's one of those things where I look and I'm like, the biggest piece that is missing right now is apparent, and I've been saying this and our coach just got fired, so obviously our GM agrees with it too, for differentials, is we need a guy that can come in and have a system that he's capable of making in-game adjustments. And one of the biggest things that would bother me in the way, Gerard Gallant would coach is that he didn't play the matchups. In every home game, you have last change, and he wouldn't mix up players. It wasn't until it was absolute desperation mode where he's mixing up lines, trying to get something together. But even then, after mixing them up in game, he didn't go ahead and try to practice with them too, to see if anything would gel. In the very next game, he just rolled with it as business as usual, back to the normal lines. So when we got, Patrick Kane and Tarasenko and Mikola that came over with Tarasenko too, we're like, okay, hey, we're not mortgaging our future because we didn't give up much for them, but let's see if we can make this happen now. I think even if Senko doesn't resign, Kane doesn't resign, I still think we're in a good spot with our top guys. Our top 6 is hard to beat. We still have some young kids on the team that need to develop, but the problem is, you look at the likes of like a Philip Hedl, a Capo Caco, and even, an Alexis Lafreniere, and the 2 coaches they have been under in, Quinn and, Gallant, haven't been good at developing young talent, which is completely ironic for those listening right now saying, well, Bert, what do you mean? Quinn was, the coach at BU forever. Even coach Chris Kreider at one point, he should be used to developing young guys. And to that, I'll say college hockey is very different from the NHL, albeit certainly a very strong stepping stone. But when it's just different managing professional players. And, when you're under the gun as a head coach, if your talent isn't coming along to your liking and fitting your system, you don't help develop them as much as you should. And we need a coach that can recognize the talent that's in those 3 guys. One perfect line, the kid line, we know they can be successful, and take them to the next level. Because I think with those guys being our 7th, 8th, 9th, and our 3rd line all around, that is, to me, is true depth. They're all stars. They really are. So we just need a coach with a good system who makes in-game adjustments. We need an assistant comes in that's a power play specialist to make our power play even more lethal. And then we also need a good PK guy too. The goaltending, we have coverage. The defensive core, we have coverage too. Now I can sit here and play like, crazy scenarios. Like, let's say we want to move Panarin and get that 11.5 off of our cap and take the hit. I get that. The issue is with all these scenarios, all of our top guys have no move clause. So it's not like we can trade them unless they, for some reason, agree to it, which they never will. So honestly, maybe try to develop more guys in our system, bring them up. If Senko and Kane don't resign for whatever reason because they want more money than we can pay them, that's fine. We can get 2 other guys that play right wing and complement our team. I'm not terribly concerned about it. I just think we need a guy that someone's going to want to play for in the long run. And obviously with Gallant in his second year, having all this talent, round 1 against the Devils, they didn't show up to play. And that is a direct reflection on what the coach is doing. Because there's no doubt in my mind, every player in that room wanted to play in the last game of the season, come out on top in the last game of the season, and raise Lord Stanley's Cup. And yet they were quickly out and they couldn't get going, and they just lost in an embarrassing fashion. So look, we're on our way. We're halfway there to getting a new coach. Let's see what it brings.
Bert, LeBron James is a genius. So the Lakers get, and shout out to everybody on social media, because I made a quick little video or reel about how I felt that LeBron James was better off losing in these Western Conference Finals against the Nuggets, or getting swept, than going and losing in the finals. Because,
and honestly, you have a monopoly on the truth. It was not only a factual statement, but I think a statement that everybody except for those completely under LeBron at this point would agree with, because it is. And you're probably going to get to this, so I apologize if I'm
go.
Because of the comparison all you tools out there want to make to the greatest basketball player of all time. So Jerm, take it from here, because I thought your soliloquy on LeBron James at that point couldn't have rang truer.
Bert, you go to a girl's house 10 times, you only smash 4 times. Is that a success?
No. I mean, it's a 40% success rate, It's not
good.
That's,
I mean, I'm not, I was more of a history English guy. I wasn't really a math guy in school, but you take a pop quiz, you get a 4 out of 10. That's a 40%.
Still failing.
I believe that's an F.
Yeah.
I mean, but you get 6 out of 6. That's 100, dog. I mean, I don't know what's, shout out to Jason Siegel. It's the only argument I need, Sean. 6 for 6. It is. I mean, it's funny because that's it. It is literally the only rebuttal.
Yeah.
Jordan did more in less time. I don't know. LeBron, if he plays next year, will make 21 seasons in the NBA. Yeah. And again, this is not a LeBron's a bum thing. That's a great accomplishment. He's great. He is great. But this idea, and I don't have a problem with LeBron. I like LeBron. But this idea that he is somehow the best nauseates me.
It needs to stop.
It has to stop. And it's not even that. It's not even that he hasn't accomplished. He's not even better than Tim Duncan or Kobe. He's not greater than those guys. To be on the one team to win multiple championships. LeBron's biggest fault is that he manufactured his titles. He jumped from teams and built his teams and played GM and built his titles, which again takes a skill, and it's great, but it's not the GOAT. It's not what I would consider the greatest of all time. They don't mean as much as a Giannis ring. Who started with the team that drafted him and made that team build around him. It's so this idea that LeBron, and so now he's here. He's out of the playoffs. They lost, whatever. D'Angelo Russell didn't show up. It didn't work. The Nuggets are just a better team. They've been better all season. All right, LeBron, you got swept. Uh-oh. Oh, what do I got to do? Let's hit the red button. Oh, guys, I might retire. Like, you know what I mean? Now the economy has shifted, right? It has shifted away from, LeBron didn't get it done in the playoffs again, got swept by the in the Western Conference Finals, to, oh my God, LeBron's gonna retire. Oh no! And it's a genius move on his part because it takes LeBron's not going to retire, but he is 1 year away from playing with his son.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen. Now, what I think he should do, he should retire. He should do the Jordan retirement.
Ooh.
He should go retire, go do Space Jam 2, direct to DVD Walmart, and then come back when Bronny's drafted by the Orlando Magic or whoever, and then go sign and play with them for the year. But here is some other interesting news that I found. Hold on, I gotta find my 2025 draft. The Cleveland Cavaliers have the draft rights to some of the projected lottery picks. The NBA script is in full effect, where there's a chance that the Cleveland Cavaliers, even if they're good, can sneak into the lottery because of some prior trades the last years that kick in from when LeBron left a couple years ago with the Lakers. And the Lakers then flipped those picks to bring in Anthony Davis with the New Orleans Pelicans. The Cleveland Cavaliers could end up with a top 3 pick in the year that Bronny becomes eligible to come out and play. Imagine Bronny getting drafted by the team.
Is he a top? I mean, obviously we don't know at this point, but I guess would he be projected to be a top 3 guy, or does it really depend on next year?
I'll be honest. So he is indeed one of the best defensive prospects coming out. A top 3 pick, probably not. Top 10, top 15, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, if your name's LeBron James Jr., you know your daddy's coming, and I hate to put this on the kid, but you take the circumstances life gives you. If a team knows that you can get LeBron for a year and help that, because if you're a team that's picking a lottery, your NBA economy is probably not that great anyway.
Yeah.
You sell some tickets, you get LeBron James in town, you get his son, you get that whole storyline. But what a storyline would be if that ended up being Cleveland? Oh no, LeBron's back at home. The team that drafted his daddy drafted the son. It writes itself. So don't be shocked. You heard it. Hey, March, what is this? May 25th, 2023. Remember this. Jot this down. Bert and Germ, your fun uncles, sat there and told you that the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win. They're going to end up in the top 3, and they're going to draft Bronny, and LeBron's going back to Cleveland. That's how it's going to happen.
That would be a nice storybook ending for him. It really would. Yeah,
it would be. It'd be too perfect. That's why then the NBA being scripted thing would be really real.
It would be 1,000% real. Yeah.
Yeah, but LeBron, I mean, getting swept is probably, I don't know if anybody wants to get swept, but the fact that he got swept, nobody's talking about it because he, like a genius, snuck in his little retirement talk that everybody knows he's not going to do. So shout out to him.
No, there's no way he's like that. No. But smart.
I mean, so if he is saving himself for Bronny, though, right, it would be smart for him to half retire or take time away from the Lakers, see if they're good or not. If they're good by February, March, then cool, come back for the playoff push and try to make a run of it, of winning a title. If you can do it. But if I'm LeBron, going to be 38, 39 years old, save your body for Bronny's year. That time off would help his body tremendously. So I would take the time off and save my unless you really think the Lakers have a shot at winning, then cool, come back and play. But I'm not putting all that mileage on my body for nothing. If I'm a dick hair close playing with making NBA history, I mean, he's this close, Bert. I'm talking this close. LeBron has done enough sacrificing for his team to be a little selfish here. I would be selfish as hell. And if I was that close to be able to play with either one of my sons, absolutely. I'd be like, hey, fuck y'all. I'm out. I'll see y'all in February.
Dude, this is what's so wild to me, because we were just saying how we have to stop comparing. And like when you look at the older generation of basketball players, and even Michael Jordan, they would never think, how can I make this easy for me to play with my son? It's always, no, I'm going to fucking go out and play to win. And if I don't win this year, guess what? It's just 1 year of me doing what I love, that I'm really good at, playing this game and trying to win, to be able to play with my son. But instead we have to think about this and just be like, oh, I don't know, maybe Maybe
Yeah,
he'll want to
like
just take it off a little bit, relax, and then get to play. Just like take kind of like cruise into the easy route. But has he earned that right? I mean, he's not, like we said, we joke about the LeBum thing. He's not a terrible player, but has he earned the right to do that, or should he have that drive? Should he have that? Just no, I'm going to keep playing, and if I keep playing until my son's there, that's great. If not, no, it's his time to shine.
this is a product of the era, right? So
Yeah.
like Kobe, Jordan's era, the player, they didn't fuck with each other. Like in the offseason, ask Isaiah Thomas right now. Ask him how he feels about Michael Jordan. He hates him. He wouldn't pass Michael Jordan a drop of water if Jordan was dying in the desert of heat. He would walk right by him. But in this time, it's LeBron, that's my homeboy. These are everybody. He's friends with everybody. It's like this. It doesn't. It's just a different era. It wasn't like Kobe didn't fuck with nobody. Like you had to earn it. Jordan, people hated him. He had his teammates, and half his teammates hated him. But that was the way it was done. But in this day and age, even on opposite teams, like that's why I appreciate Russell Westbrook. Hey, nah, and Jimmy Butler, like those are throwbacks, man. Like, nah, dog, nah, we out here, we're gonna kill you. Like, I'm not here to play games. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to play basketball and compete. And I'm not saying LeBron's not competing, but the mindset's different when you are just competing, playing basketball, and then you have a hate. Like, you're not going out and hanging out in clubs with each other. These guys weren't doing that stuff back then.
No, yeah.
And and so you can catch Jordan on the golf course with Danny Ainge and stuff, but like these guys who were really competing, like Larry Bird don't like Jordan, Isaiah Thomas don't like Jordan, like they're not going to be
Isaiah Thomas. No, and hey, listen, Jordan has no love for Isaiah Thomas. There's a lot of people that don't like Isaiah Thomas.
I love it though. I love it.
Yeah.
That's what makes this. That's what made the sport better, because it was like they were really like there's a different level when you're competing, and then you're really trying to like end somebody. So
to carry that hate all the way through how many years?
Yeah,
over almost 30 years later. Yeah, no, there's something to that.
Bert, I want to give my game ball to Breonna Stewart of the New York Liberty, who dropped 45 points, which is the most points in franchise history. She joined the New York Liberty this past offseason. WNBA just kicked off, so shout out to them. And shout out to Brittany Griner. I was going to give my game ball to her, but for making her return with the Phoenix Mercury, dropped 27-10. So shout out to Brittany Griner. And shout out to game ball for the whole WNBA. Just you have a historic performance by Breonna Stewart, and then obviously the return of Brittany Griner after her ordeal in Russia. So my game ball actually is just going to go to the WNBA. Hope you guys or gals have a wonderful season, and so shout out to y'all.
Yeah. So for me, I'm going back to the guy I talked with really at the start of the show with Game Puckos and Matthew Tkachuk. What a series! My God, that dog is in him. And to hear even his teammates talk about him and their post game pressers of just like, what do you think of Matthew Tkachuk's performance? And they're just like, I mean, you saw it. Like he's living it, he's breathing it, and the respect that they obviously have shown this man who's leading this team through and through. Man, you might get another like 4-game performance like that, but absolutely impressive from top to bottom. So game ball goes to Matt Tkachuk for me.
And foolish of me to not mention this earlier, and I should have. I'm going to give an extra game ball to Martin McCauley. Who? That Martin McCauley, who filed a patent and did God's work today, Bert. If you haven't noticed, had the patent for the Washington Space Commanders.
Yes.
Which therefore put the pressure on Washington and the NFL. Now the Commanders have to change their name again. Thank God. Martin McCauley for the foresight to get rid of the last remnants of that awful man Dan Snyder. So to you get the GOAT award, sir.
That's why he's the MVP. That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
And Dan Snyder, as you sit there and you wallow and you think you pulled one over on us, Martin McCauley comes out of the rafters like Sting in WCW with a baseball bat and just crushes your dreams. So, sit there and think about that while you burn in hell. And when you're there, say hello to our Bryles for us.